Next up is Paula White, globally recognized sales leader focused on shifting perspective through music. She excels in scaling inside sales teams into multi-million dollar stand-alone sales channels. Her passion for inside sales has gained her experience in a variety of industries: travel and tourism, investments, veterinary, and healthcare distribution. Paula currently serves as a member of the AAISP Advisory Board and previously honored as a top 25 most influential sales leader recipient for 3 consecutive years by AAISP. Paula was the award winner of Excellence in Execution in 2017. She is listed in Ambition's top 100 coaches to watch for 2 consecutive years, 2017 and 18. Paula served as president of the AISP Columbus, Ohio chapter from 2015 to 2018 and is currently a mentor for Girls Club. When not working, she is an avid concert goer. Let's meet Paula. Paula, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to have you here. Thank you for making time.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Uh, Before we get into discussing this elephant in the room, tell us a bit about you and the wonderful work that you are doing.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be a part of this. And I'll tell you, I've had, 30 years experience in corporate America, and just recently went out on my own to help leaders understand what legacy to leave with the people that they serve. So I'm very passionate about sales, and I'm very passionate about businesses growing.
Wonderful, wonderful. At some point, we'll touch upon your experience with teaching sales, but we'll circle back to that later. Let's dive right in, Paula. There is this elephant in the room which most of us who are in sales, in B2B sales, don't talk about enough, which is this abysmal lead to conversion ratio. And we sort of seem to accept the fact that 5% is okay. I mean, anywhere else, if the success rate was 5%, I mean, you can take surgery, you can take aeroplanes flying and landing. Your printer giving you printouts, 5% wouldn't have been acceptable by any stretch. But we seem to agree that yes, we are going to build organization, we are going to pay people, and it's fine if they convert 5%. And although you can debate this number, there is no debating the fact that more than 50% of the SDRs don't do 50% of their quota. So, you can slice and dice it any which way. We have a problem, right?
Yeah.
What do you think brought us here?
So, if you think about fixing that 5% problem that you're talking about, we have to look at what brought us here. And I think we have a opportunity to get back to the basics, to get back to being human and selling. And that's selling on the phone or via face-to-face or Zoom or any of those things that we are now with technology doing. I believe that most businesses, including myself when I was in corporate America, knew when an SDR or somebody was calling me to try to sell something. So it's very easy to say, I don't have time at this moment, or we're not interested, because there's a process to sales, and we're all doing that process, but we're not putting that human touch to it. And I think we need to go back to building relationships.
Is that sure? I mean, I totally get what you're saying, and I would not debate that for a moment. Although there's a lot of data which says that a lot of buying, especially in B2B, is getting done by bots. Bots are talking to each other and buying. So there's a Gartner report actually about that. But let me sort of step back from what you just said and ask, how will that actually, according to you, how is that contributing to this very low conversion rate?
Well, I think because of bots, and I think because of where we are, Alexa can only give information and they're transactional. But if we're going to be a consultative selling where we actually become partners with business to business, then that's where we need to grow to. We need to get above the bots doing those things because that just makes it very transactional rather than relational consultative, those things that we as salespeople know to be the best way to get business, but also to retain business.
Okay, let's unpack this idea, because I think the way you are putting this human bit front and center, I have had not many discussions which were focused on this. Obviously, you feel very strongly about it. Uh, let's unpack this a bit. Where is it that this disconnect started? How is this that the disconnect persists? And how is that finally contributing to very bad conversion?
So, in my opinion only, the more we grow into technology, and I love technology, the ease of use, the efficiencies, all of those things. But the more that we grow into it, the less that we are actually capturing human behavior and talking to people again. And that's where we really need to get back to. But it's easier to say no to a bot or no, I'm not going to do that or go to somebody else or my price is better with such and such, that we're not only just discounting the customer, but now our margins have decreased and our sales have decreased because everything has become competitive in that bot transactional world, which is good for some buyers, but it trickles down. So if you're going business to business, that business is going to have to trickle down because the consumer or another business is going to want better pricing and use their bot, and they're going in and out of different businesses as well. So in where I'm looking is AI is fantastic in some cases, but bringing that into the sales process can be damaging because it's a lot easier to say no to a computer than it is a human.
Let's try to analyze this a little further. What kind of contribution do you think is the fact that the buyer and the way the buyer is engaging and buying has also changed significantly from say 20 years back?
Well, yeah. I mean, that is now we have to consider in sales the buyer's journey. I mean, you can go on to Amazon and get anything that you want and it's delivered by, within a day. If you forgot toothpaste or whatever, you could just go on there. But that's business to consumer. And that buyer journey has changed significantly. It's now changing with more sales. People are wanting sales development, SDRs. They want business development. There is national accounts. There are so many sales roles now that are very specific to the buyer that I think we've almost overdone it. And we need to really think about, think about where we want to stand and where we want to stand as a sales business. And sales is what drives revenue. We know that, right? But if we're putting all of our money into sales development, business development, accounts, account manager, national account manager, where does the line stop? And is that all part of teaming or individual? So I'm almost in favor of saying, let's just get back to the basics. Let's bring that human element back. Yes, I love having an SDR team when I was working in corporate America because they were out hunting. And then it's just a different role. You get them out hunting while your account managers are farming. And I know that's an old term, so please forgive me, but it's true. And if we do that, we're going to see growth and fix that problem of acquisition or customer retention. And really, I think it's important to remember that it is the customer retention that is going to help us with our acquisition because our customers are going to speak highly of us. We almost need to think of them as our marketing piece.
That's a very interesting point. So I think we're at a good stage to transition to the solution, right? How do you
Mm-hmm.
think? And here I would like you to elaborate the human bit, the way you envision a sales organization to be, right? So
Mm-hmm.
uh, how do you think we can fix this? See, I know nobody's going to sell 100%, right? That's not going to happen because you have five competitors. By and large, the market will be divided between you and your competitors. So if you are the top four or five players, you will have 80% of the market share, which means in effect you will have about 15-16% yourself. The top three will, we all know that math. So nobody's going to do 100%, but how can we take it from 5% to 10? That will be 100% increase in our output, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, that was one of the things that I was working on and where at the business that I was in. And that's what I'm working on now is increasing that to double digit growth. Having double digit growth in a company is amazing because what you're doing is not only taking market share, but you're retaining market share. So the solution for me and what I believe in getting back to that human is one that we all know that sales is a process, but we've got to be humanistic and differentiate ourselves from it, right? And we need to start with the relationship. Two is I believe that our SDR teams are really the ones going out and hunting for business and leads and bringing them back to our account managers and sales teams. Now, that's where the farming begins. So the SDR is really not just qualifying leads, they're doing much, much more. They're getting maybe the first or second buying experience, understanding the buyer's journey, and then giving it over to the account manager with the relationship of this is how the buyer wants to buy. They either want to buy, and that's the third thing is how do our buyers want to buy? Do they want to buy by email, text, phone, or by a bot? We really need to understand that. So those are the three things that I would look for in our solution.
that's a great you know flow, so to say. My question is, do you think, especially because SDRs are potentially or possibly the youngest team members, the freshest team members, are we relying too much on these people who are really not equipped to deliver what we are expecting them to deliver?
And that's a great question because um, I am so used to new hires and onboarding and bringing the SDR team into the mix. It really starts with good onboarding and good training and understanding what their role is and role playing. You've got to role play with the SDRs. Some of them, because they are new, are afraid to pick up the phone. it's a different experience to pick up a phone and dial rather than just on your phone texting or something, or um, FaceTime or any of those. So it's a new experience for a lot of them. So you really need to understand when you interview, are they hungry? Or do they have the skills and capabilities? But more importantly, do they have the heart? And that brings us back to the human aspect. Do they have the heart to want to really get out there and hunt for new business?
So, would you say that the sales leadership's approach to human capital or human resource, in this case, sales talent, is potentially aggravating the situation?
I don't think it's aggravating the situation if you have the right training and the right leader in place. For me, it's all about having a leader that is going to work for their team. And I think that is probably the most important part because that leader is the one who is doing the hiring of their talent. So they believed in them at one point when they were interviewing them. You really need to back them and to be able to give them that runway, so to speak, so that they can be successful and not assume that you put them on the phone and they know what to do. I think that's where a lot of the mistakes happen is we bring this SDR team and we think because they're young and hungry that they know what to do, and they don't. So we need to be able to educate them and train them.
Right. So my question actually was, when maybe I didn't frame it right. My question is that the person who is leading the sales team, is that person, he or she, missing out on appreciating what needs to be done to actually equip the SDR team, which is where it all starts, to be effective so that the accounts team or anything that happens thereafter can be more effective and thereby have better outcomes?
I see what you're saying. So are we as a group in the sales function, are leaders missing out on bringing in an SDR team to really do the hunting? Or am I
Well,
being clear on that?
and also the fact that they need to be equipped. It's not even enough to have the talent, but the talent now needs its tools, its skills, which may or may not be there. The potential may be there that, okay, this guy is outgoing, this guy is hardworking, he is hungry, but that's not enough, as you said,
Right.
right? But we take it as an absolute and say, okay, he's hungry, so he'll figure it out, right?
You're absolutely right. And I think that this is all changed with our COVID. And I think our leaders are starting to understand that to be more efficient, to have the technology in front of people so that they can make those calls quicker or help them uncover new opportunities. Having that technology is important. It's very important that not only just a CRM, but if you're going to do SDRs, call recording, call coaching, if you're going to continue down that path, then having automated emails. I'm not big on sequencing, which is one thing that a lot of SDR teams use. And the reason that I'm not is because it takes that human element out of it again. I know a sequenced email now. We as buyers and consumers already know what's happening to us. So the technology has gone almost too far. It needs to be dialed back down a little bit.
Interesting point again. And so let me ask you something. The sequencing and the cadences are meant to actually sift through potential prospects or suspects, whatever you call. These are strange terms that we use.
Yeah,
What's the suspect? Anyway,
I don't know.
so the thing is that the cadence will work for that in helping us trying to narrow down those who are likely to be willing to engage, not buy, but engage because they see a fit between what we are trying to offer or our analysis of their problem, and they say, I think Shubhanjan gets what my pain points are, and so on.
Yeah,
Yet, we are using this to actually trying to sell.
correct. And that's where it needs to stop, because seeing if it's a fit and using analytics is a great option. And I think that when you start with that, it's going to give you a vast potential of leads. But that's where you need to get back on the phone and have those conversations, because getting an updated email, I haven't heard from you, or I'm sorry that this is still bothering, I don't mean to be a bother, we 4 times, 5 times sequencing is just really changing that buyer's journey. So while the analytics are there and we look at a willing to participate and engage in a conversation, then get on the phone and have a conversation.
I have a I have a question there. You know, again, the data is saying that buyers are increasingly refusing to get on a call with a salesperson because buyer is having his own journey. No matter what we think about the journey we prescribe for the
Right.
buyer doesn't really give a damn about that. The buyer has his own problems to solve, own team members to convince, own budget allocation to ensure, and so on and so forth. So he is having a completely different chaotic time inside his organization. So he doesn't care about your thinking of ida or the bunt framework and whatever, right? So he doesn't care. You care because it's very simple for you. Okay, I'll go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 to stage 4. It's not really working like that. So the point is that the buyer is not really looking forward to picking up the phone and talking. How do you get through that?
That's a challenge. That one right there is one we need to solve. And there are some different ways that you can do that. And one is differentiating yourself. I remember, and this was a long time ago, just sending a personalized note in handwriting to a customer so that when I called, he picked up the phone. It's just a matter of rehumanizing the sales process. We have gotten so technical on it and so analytical on it. And like you said, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Talk to the customer until they're ready to buy. And how do we get them to pick up the phone? That is where that is a good question. Um, and that's where I would love to see data and analytics, because we don't know we have a problem until we've talked to somebody. But if we're not picking up the phone, we're not talking to somebody. And being able to differentiate ourselves needs to be something pretty impactful.
I totally agree that with more than 1,500 sales tools, technology tools, more than 8,000 in marketing, I think we are overdoing. We are literally trying to nuke something
Yeah,
which could have been done with the one stick. That's
exactly.
really what's going on here, right? So this is great, and I think uh, figuring out how to humanize this process. I mean, we should keep in mind that the sales scenario has changed, right, Paula? I mean,
Right.
there was a time 30 years back, you were living in the same city all your life. You went to school with your friends, who is now running a factory or working in the Walmart there, and you are the salesperson. You possibly, your children play together. You coach their children or they coach your children. Trust is already there because you know each other for like all your life. The connection was already there. It was a pre-existing connection. But when I'm talking to you across the globe with a 12-hour difference in our time and potentially never have met you, to,
Right.
to build that trust is a difficult process. Why would I expect that you should trust me or vice versa? Right?
Right.
I mean, okay, we are nice people talking to each other, but that doesn't mean you trust me. I mean, why should you? Right? So the
Exactly.
point is that the way the world is and the way sales has evolved, it has put some serious impediments the way it works today. It's as simple as that. Most of us are selling to people whom we have never met. We know that trust is a big factor, but we don't know how to build that trust. It's not something you can build overnight or over one phone call or sending 3 notes, because we can see through it. Just like we can see through a cadence of mail, you know that it's not being written for you. It's some bot or some mailing software which is sending out this series of mails hoping that you look at them and so on. Right?
That's exactly right. And I was going to say, that trust thing is so important. And I don't mean to call it a trust thing, but, um, and being trustworthy. And I think that that's where we need to be and look within ourselves. Are we being trustworthy? You know, I learned sales from my dad, and my dad really believed in the handshake. You had a deal when you shook hands. And that's really the the to sum it right up. If you're shaking hands on it, you have the trust, you have the belief that it's going to be done. And we don't have that.
Yeah.
We in sales don't have that anymore.
Yes, and I think the biggest challenge of humanizing the sales process again is right there. Because we
Yeah.
have forgotten how to build trust, and the fact that we have to be patient. It's not an overnight or 3 call or a 7 day exercise. It's a much longer exercise.
You are spot on. I think it is not I'm in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. You're never going to build trust that way. You have to be a consultative seller, somebody who is going to actually consult and be in the buyers or the other business, being a partner with them. But to be a partner with them, you have to have the trust.
Absolutely. Wonderful, Paula. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
This is great. Thank you. Let me know when it gets out there, and if there's anything that I can do for you, please let me know.
Absolutely.